Hey Zack Attack Nation, thank you for joining me for my review of Totally Killer, a new comedy sci-fi slasher streaming on Prime Video. This is definitely a fun throwback, but does it live up to the potential of the premise? Let's attack it. 35 years after the shocking murders of 3 teens, an infamous killer returns on Halloween night to claim a 4th victim. When 17-year-old Jamie meets with a masked maniac, she accidentally time travels back to 1987. Forced to navigate unfamiliar culture, Jamie teams up with her teenage mother to take down the psycho once and for all. This movie is a mixture between Back to the Future and Scream, meeting those two combined to make a very good comedic effect throughout the film, where it's self-referential in terms of like even referencing Scream and referencing Back to the Future in the film and applying the rules of it, while also within the story itself playing on those tropes that you would see in those films.
I'd like to report a crime that hasn't happened yet. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Basically, I'm living that movie right now, which is how I know there's gonna be a murder tonight.
The movie starts out really strong, starting with a murder that sets the tone for the comedy and the slasher parts of the film. I was cringing so hard at some of the jokes in a good way, and then when the actual killer shows up for the first time, the fear set in really well. They set it up really tightly, and like the action was done really well, where I felt the fear and I understood that everyone is in danger.
I'm in danger!
That initial murder that happens in the beginning of the film sets up the central conflict of the film, with Jamie going back in time. And we've seen tons of movies where, or even TV shows, of someone going back in time, meeting their parents where they're young and kind of talking to them and finding things about them that they've never seen before. But what's great about this film and makes it feel a little fresh and different is the fact this is somebody that is Gen Z going back to the 80s, and those culture clashes going back and forth, the things that you can't believe how the 80s were, and kind of free, and people can go in and out where they want to, and they don't really have to check identification and different things that like we're so restrictive right now in terms of our freedom to move around because of all the dangers in the world. It was played for really good comedic effect every time she was trying to do something, and she was like, whoa, that was really easy. And the mystery of who, how, where, why, and what is very intriguing because of the cast of characters are really fun, colorful, and played by really likable actors that elevate the stereotypes. Kiernan Shipka, if you know her from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I've been a big fan of her since that show. She plays the lead here, and she plays the bratty teen who doesn't listen to her parents and thinks that they're overprotective, and once a tragedy strikes, comes closer and she ends up going back into the past, she tries to stop the killer who killed the person that she's close to, and she becomes heroic. And I really like that turn. It shows that she still had some, at first I was like, oh gosh, she's gonna be annoying throughout the film, she's so bratty, but it shows that she was a typical teen, but she has some good at heart, and she plays a straight man throughout the film. And I really liked her interactions and her comedic timing throughout the film, interacting with people from the 80s and trying to figure out how to communicate what is going on with them. This made the supporting cast really fun because Kiernan's character Jamie is the only one that knows what's going on. She understands the rules of of killing in horror movies and slasher films, and she's trying to prevent it and knowing what's coming next. While this is the 80s where we don't have Scream, we don't have all these documentaries showing you what's going on. So they're just living their life, going into the woods, going to parties, and all the stereotypical places that these stupid teens usually get killed. And it does it in a way where the stupid teen in the slasher movie actually makes sense because they went back in the past, while having a character that's in the present that has seen all these scary movies, trying like, look guys, this is gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. We gotta do these things to protect ourselves. And they're like, you're just crazy. And out of the supporting cast, Olivia Holt is a standout. She plays Jamie's young mom in the past. She does a great job having chemistry with every single person on screen, and she was the only character out of the Mean Girl group in the past that felt like she had a little bit of heart and a little bit better good intentions. You can see the character that she becomes later on with the mom, who was really overprotective and nice and sweet. So that was really good to have a little bit of that in there and show Jamie and her mom could get along in the past. You always ask that question like, damn, if would my mom and my dad hang out with me if I knew when they were younger, and she got to find out. The soundtrack is great. It's actually excellent, and great use of really popular 80s music with some deep cuts mixed in to give the movie some flavor and fun, especially in the party scenes, and also there's multiple party scenes in the film, and they use the music really well, and the 80s aesthetic is used pretty decently throughout the film. It's really colorful and bring that era back to life, and it's really used for good comedic effect. The slasher parts, oh man, that was actually done really good. The violence in there was really great because the killer was called a Sweet 16 killer, and he stabbed every single person he killed 16 times. And from the first time they did it, it was like, damn. And then the next person that did it too was like, okay, these people are in danger. My favorite part of the movie though is the sci-fi aspects. I think that they did a really great job of referencing Back to the Future, but also making their own time travel rules, and they played with it really well, how the past affects the present and the future, and what happens if certain things happen, like if your parents never meet, or one of them die before they're supposed to die, or if you save someone that was supposed to die. All those things are played with really well, and it's explained clearly where it makes sense and it's not confusing. And I really liked the sci-fi aspects the most, especially the third act, which I think was the strongest act actually, where all the comedy beats, the slasher beats, and the sci-fi come together really well, and it's a really enjoyable time. Unfortunately, I don't think that the movie lives fully to the premise that it has, the Back to the Future plus the Scream. I think that it didn't dive deep enough into the 80s and use that era just enough. It was kind of used like as dressing, like I said, in the good, and it makes it for a fun, entertaining time, but it could have been real epic and great if they took a little bit more chances and really got into, you know, what it would be like if she was just really stuck there. They were really focused on the main plot, and then get to explore it and have a little fun there. The Scream part, I think that they could have dived deeper into the comedy and being more self-referential and introducing things that are very obscure 80s to this Gen Z person, while the Gen Z person is introducing things that are obscure now to the 80s and blowing their mind. They didn't go into that enough. And while I do think that the movie violence was brutal and the killings were great, and it's not, you know, if you watch horror movies all the time, if you watch something like Terrifier, which I recently saw, this is not going to be brutal to you. But in terms of a Scream level, it is. The stabs look really crazy, but the lead up to the violence felt like it was being rushed. The tension wasn't built as great as I would want it to be, for it to feel real scary. It was more fun. It was more of a thriller than a horror because of that, and I felt like it was rushing through those moments to get to the next story beat. While I did chuckle and smile and laugh throughout the film, and while many jokes did land, there was a lot of jokes that didn't land for me, which was just surprising because I'm usually easy pleased when it comes to comedy. But there were certain things that they did here. I don't know if it was the performance and the delivery, or just the writing, or a combination of both. Some things either felt repetitive in terms of the joke, or just didn't land for me at all, because it wasn't written as clever as the movie thought it was being. It was just way too straightforward, and it was supposed to be like, hey, you get it? And it was just like, I get it, but it's not that funny. So that hurt the movie a little bit for me, where I wish it was a lot funnier than it was, because I think if the movie was a lot funnier than it was, some of the lulls in between when they're trying to figure out what the killer is would have been more entertaining. Despite this movie not living up to its full potential, I actually still really loved it. It's a really good film that I feel like I'm going to rewatch, and I want to show friends and have fun with it. It's a really fun film that you can put on in your house, watching streaming. This is a perfect streaming movie. It's a better quality than most streaming films, and it could have went into theaters, but I see why they didn't put it in theaters, because of certain cinematic aspects of it maybe wasn't up to, you know, top notch. But overall, this was a fun time with a great premise. I hope that they find a way to make this a trilogy of movies, or a series, or a franchise, because I think that these guys, hopefully if they improve as they go, can make a second film that's even better than this one, because they have a lot of potential in here that they can explore, especially how the movie ended. So with that said, I'm gonna give Totally Killer a totally C+. So Zack Attack Nation, did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Totally Killer if you've seen it already? And based on my review, if you have not seen it, are you going to go check it out on Prime Video? I implore you to do it. It's a fun time, especially during spooky season. If you saw the movie, let me know all your favorite parts of the film and who was your favorite character, and hit that like button if you liked my review, and let you two know you like what you're watching. And you're wondering this whole time, how do I join the Zack Attack Nation? You attack that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can notify my reviews, reactions, live discussions, and much more. And join this growing community, and you can watch more of my content right now.